State Representative Juandalynn Givan, and I have the pleasure, honor, and privilege of representing this area where we sit today in the historic A.H. Parker High School auditorium for the last 14 years in the Alabama House of Representatives. I've called this meeting today because we received news last week that Birmingham-Southern College, which has been a staple in this community for roughly 68 years, will close its doors under the current existence of Birmingham-Southern College, effective May 31st. The reason I wanted to bring you together is to have an opportunity to talk with you about next steps, where we are, but also there have been some concerns from the general public as to how we got here. I am going to open up with just a historical perspective of everything that has transpired since the fall of 2022 to the current date. Why am I doing that? I'm doing this because I think that the public deserves to know. I have always been one to speak truth to power. I want to begin by thanking Dr. Hudson, Darrell Hudson, the principal of this school, wave your hand, for allowing us once again to come here for a purpose such as this, as well as the superintendent, Dr. Mark Sullivan, for always extending an open door to us. With me tonight, and you will hear from these individuals, we have the council president, Darrell O'Quinn, for the Birmingham City Council, who also represents the Smithville community. We have Representative Patrick Sellers. We also have Representative Tillman. Representative Travis Hendricks, who is also a representative for a portion of the area, should be here shortly. Again, thank you all for coming. Fall 22, I received a request from Daniel Coleman, president of Birmingham-Southern, to have a meeting with him on the campus to discuss a matter. It was not until I participated or accepted the invitation that I was informed in the fall of 22 that there was a possibility that Birmingham-Southern would close. During that meeting, President Coleman shared with me that they had exhausted much of their of their endowment, and that they were on life support. At that meeting, I expressed my concern, to have just found out, because I felt that we did not just by happenstance get here or get there in that instance. He explained to me that there had been a series of expenditures over the course of years because of a building, the building and construction program that they had under a previous president, which was a capital improvement, capital development program. As a result of that and other things, the school had at that point become in dire straits. I began a process at that point of trying to develop a relationship with Mr. Coleman, trying to advise him of the process and processes that he would need to follow as a prescription in an effort to save the college. They were as follows. Develop a relationship with the Jefferson County delegation. All members of the delegation, regardless of party affiliation, all members needed to be vetted because we were dealing with the issue of a possible vote or a level of support. That meant Democrats and Republicans. I suggested to President Coleman that he establish this relationship as well as to have a full-on meeting. He, of course, informed me that he had already met previously with one or two individuals. They included Jabo Wagner, I think Roger Smitherman, and he had had a conversation or two with, at that time, who is still our current Education Trust Fund chair. I started, after that conversation, I then went on to share with him the key essential steps. Secure your delegation locally. There are 105 members in the House of Representatives, 35 in the Senate. Regardless of whatever we were to do at that time, there had to be a point of origination. The point of origination started last year with legislation that would ultimately be termed as the Distressed Colleges and Institution Bill. After everything had been exhausted, President Coleman moved in a posture that we would create this bill, and doing so, there would have to be a vote of the legislature. The bill in question was developed around the custodian of the loan, and the person who would be responsible for the loan on behalf of the state would be Young Boozer, who is the duly elected treasurer for the state of Alabama. It would have been Young Boozer's responsibility to vet the process, to vet the loan itself, and to make sure that Birmingham-Southern was credit worthy and that they had met all of the criteria as prescribed under the law. This was a very tenuous process, but it was one that was developed with a plan that myself, as the local state representative, Danny Garrett, who is not here, who is the Education Trust Fund chair, and the Speaker of the House, knowing that it was an uphill battle, we worked the process. We were successful in getting that loan program out last year, but ultimately Young Boozer, after he did his underwriting and review, determined, for whatever reasons, that Birmingham-Southern was not worthy of the loan. This matter was taken to court. There was a challenge of Young Boozer's authority, and Young Boozer ultimately was upheld by the courts here in the state of Alabama. We then now move to roughly October. President Coleman began a process working with only Jabba Wagner, ultimately Roger Smitherman, and another representative who does not represent this area. They moved the bill into process and through the channels, and once again the bill originated in the Senate. When the bill came to the House, although it made it out of the Senate, there were concerns then. It ultimately made it out of the Senate. But when it came to the House, there were just not enough votes for it to move forward. It made it out of the committee only as a courtesy. The day that before the committee met, there were two committee meetings. One was a public hearing, and the other was the actual vote. The night of the public hearing, which was on Tuesday before last, the Republican Party met. They drew a straw vote, and based upon those numbers, there was just not enough support from the members, the majority party, to move forward with a vote on the House floor. The current Rules Chair was opposed to the legislation. Members also of the Alabama Democratic Party and Black Caucus were concerned and were somewhat opposed to the legislation. This was a piece of legislation that would have had to have bipartisan support from both caucuses. Unfortunately, it did not. And I will close with this because I want to speak truth to power. In doing so this session, I requested information on this bill several times from the governmental affairs representatives. Each time I was told, well, we're trying to work it through the Senate, we'll get back with you. So we steered from a course that we took last year, which was a course that ultimately brought us a degree of success, but ultimately was stricken down. This particular piece of legislation that was rejected by the House to a degree from the straw poll was legislation that was written that would have totally removed Young Boozer from the process. Again, Young Boozer is the state treasurer, a constitutional officer. So it was very unlikely, after making those amendments, that the bill, even if it passed the House, would have been signed by the governor. She would have probably vetoed the legislation. I expressed my concerns to the president. I expressed my concerns about how we should move about. We are of roughly 19 members in the delegation in Jefferson County, with the majority of those being my colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle. Many of which that were not in support of the bill last year, but just for the purpose of saving the college, they acquiesced to the bill and to support it. Unfortunately, there was not enough communication by the delegation, with the college, and with the members, several of whom are sitting here tonight. So we are here now with Birmingham-Southern closing. It is a very unfortunate situation. It was a very heartbreaking situation, but I do feel to a great extent it is one that could have possibly been avoided. But we are here now. So what's next? Many of you have called expressing your concerns as to what will happen with the college. Will the city step in? Will the city's money be repaid? The city sent loan to Birmingham-Southern, I think $2.5 million of a $5 million request. What will happen if the school closes and the lights ultimately go off? Will the school come back as a college of higher learning here in the state of Alabama? I can't answer all of those questions, but I certainly can try to field your questions, and it is my plan to put in a letter, formal letter to President O'Quinn and to the mayor, the concerns of the citizens with regards to the city of Birmingham, and to make sure that we address those concerns. Some of you have questioned whether Birmingham-Southern will ultimately be like Caraway Hospital. I do not believe that will happen. I believe that the campus will be secured. I'm also going to be speaking with Sheriff Petway. We understand we have a number of we're down officers here in the city of Birmingham, and I do believe that working together as a collective, we will be able to make sure, at least for a while, that the necessary security is in operation on the campus. And lastly, we are hoping, based upon the information or some information that I received today, of some of the interest that has been shown to Birmingham-Southern from institutions throughout the state. It is my understanding that the entire UA system, Tuskegee, Miles, Spring Hill, Stillman, Jacksonville State, Auburn, University of Montgomery, UWA, have all been helpful. It's my understanding that currently there are 215 employees at Birmingham-Southern, 75 faculty, 140 non-faculty. As far as the campus itself, the priorities is to get a decent price, to pay back the creditors, and a good neighborhood, make it a good neighborhood for the College Hills and Smithfield communities. There will be 50 colleges on campus Friday. 2 levels of the participation is the first level to teach, I guess, out at the campus, that will take and then they're working to make sure that they have colleges that will be visiting the campus that will take either the scholarships or credits that the students have, as well as to move and vacate their policies on the application fees and processes. This includes Sanford, Stetson, Stillman, and other levels to include almost all state schools plus 30 more will waive fees and expenditures for transfer. We will take questions at the end, but I felt it was most important to let you know what happened and how we got here. And now we will move into greetings and a word from the President of the Birmingham City Council, as well as council representative for this area, President O'Quinn.
Thank you, Representative Givan. It's my pleasure to be with you here tonight. I first want to acknowledge that this is a difficult situation for the city of Birmingham, and my heart goes out to all the students and faculty who dreaded this day coming, and now have to move in a different direction, including finding ways to further their education and seek new employment. Just want to acknowledge those folks that are put in a very difficult position because of the outcome. As you know, and Representative Givan mentioned, the city has been in lockstep with Birmingham-Southern for the past couple of years, trying to avoid this outcome and doing our part to show that we have skin in the game and that Birmingham-Southern is a significant part of our community. But ultimately that effort wasn't successful, and we have to go in a different direction. The thing that I want to communicate to you is that the city is fully committed to this community, to College Hills and Bush Hills, Smithfield, Graymont, and the other surrounding neighborhoods. We realize, that this, it will be impactful. The thing that I would say to you is that I do think that Birmingham-Southern's campus is different than some of the other properties of similar size and magnitude. I think that there will be significant interest in folks that want to either locate another college campus here, or I even envision that there could be corporations that want to have that type of environment as a secondary or even a primary headquarters for their organization. So, while a lot of folks are, concerned about the future, I just want to, encourage folks to also keep the potential positive outcomes in mind too. But mostly, I'm here just to hear your concerns and make sure that I convey those to my colleagues and to the mayor. Unfortunately, Councilor Clark had another commitment tonight and couldn't be here. She represents the portion of the community on the Druid Hills side, also College Hills. So I've got the portion of Smithfield that's east of Center Street in my district. So with that, I think that about sums it up, and I'm looking forward to your questions and concerns.